Those mentally sound couples understand where the other person is coming from. They understand how each expresses love and receives love. And I think it's up to us, it's up to me to understand, to learn your love language.
Yeah, you can't, and I say this a lot, but I'll say it again. You can't love people the way you want to be loved.
Right.
You have to love people the way they need to be loved.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
so
because
that
we're
looks different. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're right. You're absolutely right. You have to learn that.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Marriage Matters Podcast. I'm Tanya Coleman. This is my co-host and husband.
Yep, this is me, Glenn Coleman. This is I.
Yes, we want to welcome everyone to Marriage Matters Podcast, where we talk about all things marriage and relationship. Today will be no different. Before we get started and get into the podcast, we want to say thank you to everyone who showed love toward us last week as we were celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. We appreciate you guys sending all of the love, the messages, and all of the feedback that we got on last week. We greatly appreciate it. We love you guys so much.
Yes.
Thank you for the encouragement. We received a couple of pretty powerful words and all kinds of great stuff. So we just want to say thank you to our loved family and friends. So we
really felt the love.
Yeah,
really felt the love.
Enjoyed ourselves. So we are closing out the month of May.
Is this the last?
This is the last Sunday of May.
Man. Okay.
So May, as many of you may already know, is Mental Health Awareness Month. For us, we are mental health aware all the time because it's what we do.
But most of the times.
Most of the time.
I will admit sometimes I still slip back into unawareness.
Yeah. Well,
so it happens.
It happens. So we want to kind of close out this month in talking about the importance of mental health and marriage.
Okay.
So I have a question for you.
Okay, ask it.
Why is it important that we as individuals take care of our mental health?
Okay, man, this is a lot. This is It's not a simple answer. But I think I'll start with this. I think for me, I wasn't aware of, or let me put it this way. When I thought about mental health, growing up, and it was just, when you talked about mental health, you always talked about, it was a negative thing. I'll just say it that way.
Mental instability.
Right. That's the only way. So in my world, there was never like a positive side to, it's like, you didn't go to, like, for instance, seeing a therapist, right? It's like you went to a therapist when there was an issue, not just to stay healthy, mentally and emotionally healthy. You went when it was like the last straw.
Right.
And I'm learning different. Okay. So, but why is it important? Because just what I said.
Before you move on to that,
ahead.
though, how many people in your community do you know that went to a quote unquote therapist? None. Exactly. Me either.
And I think, some of it, I think is, it's layered, right? Some of it, I think some of it is just the financial access.
Sure.
For a lot of, us growing up in our community, especially like the African American community, a lot of people maybe don't have the means.
Sure.
To
absolutely.
Because it's not.
It costs what it costs.
I'll say this: it's an investment. It's an investment.
It is.
And when you have a choice between putting food on the table and going to see a therapist, so that's one thing. I think the other side of it is a lot of times, I think, especially in religious circles, it was seen as something negative
Right.
And it's like, all you need is the word. You know, you just go to church.
Go to God in prayer.
And go, and all that stuff, you know. And not to say there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I still pray. I still talk to God. We believe in both prayer and we therapy. Still go to church. Oh, well, we watch church on streaming. But there's something to be said about having a person that is trained in helping you process through emotions, thoughts, all those things.
Okay.
There was one other, what else I said? Finance, religion, and then just again, like you were saying, it's the stigma,
right,
associated with a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, what have you. It's just, that's when I moved. And the other thing is I grew up, it's like you don't talk about. You take those things and you just shove them back down, deep down, and hopefully they don't ever come up again, which we know that doesn't happen. It doesn't work. So, but it's important because it's just like, you know, if I want to be, I want to live a long life. I want to be here for my family. I want to be here for you. So if I'm going to do that, there's some things that I have to do in my physical body. I have to eat right. I have to exercise. Praise God. I have to do those things. You know, and I apply that same principle to my emotions and emotionally and mentally. I say it that way. So if I'm going to be my best, if I'm going to be the best father, if I'm going to be the best husband, then I have to be emotionally and mentally fit.
Yeah.
And I think so many times one of the reasons why we, so you posted this video, what's his name? Kieran Gaines? Is it Kieran? With the little girl and the dad.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have no idea what his name is. I just like the video.
I follow him. Yeah, he was on. He and his wife were on the Love Hour.
Okay.
With Kevin and Melissa.
Okay, love it. Okay.
But anyway, and to see that conversation happen between the father and the daughter, telling her it's okay to be upset, and you know you don't have to fall out. And he was just really talking to her. But how many times has that happened? You know, even with us and our kids. Why doesn't that happen? Right. Because we are not in a place emotionally and mentally to function that way when our kids act
they're
out.
Having a moment and they're acting out.
So because we're not emotionally and mentally fit, then, and like I was telling you the other night, I said we respond a lot of times out of anger back to our kids. We discipline out of anger, and that just perpetuates the cycle. So I don't even know if I answered the question, but that's why to me it's important.
You gave reasons why
it's important to be mentally and emotionally healthy, because if I am, then I can show up better and be the best version of myself.
Very good. I love it.
I mean, that's like, we're in the playoffs right now, and great example, is the Chris Paul, and this, hopefully if you're watching this in 2021, around end of May, he had a shoulder contusion, so he hit his shoulder. Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards in our lifetime, but it's like you could tell his handles were a little off. His shot was a little off because he had an injury. Yeah. And that's how a lot of times we go through life emotionally and mentally injured.
That's good.
And we're always just a little off, and we never can get things right. So to me, that's what mental health is all about. Yeah. It's being the best version of myself.
Yeah, that's so good. That's really, really good. I think it's all inclusive. For me, it's all inclusive: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health and well-being. And in today's show, in today's podcast, we want to talk about the importance of you individually taking care of your mental health, because of all of the benefits that Glenn just listed in your marriage and in your family and in every aspect of your life. A lot of times people don't realize that their personal mental health contributes to the challenges that are happening within their marriage. So if you are struggling with anger, depression, anxiety, you're grieving, feeling overwhelmed, and all just there's an array of things, a list of things that sometimes we just take it as, oh, this is normal. Well, sure, it can be for a short period of time, but if you find yourself stuck in those feelings, in those emotions, for a longer period of time, you may actually be dealing with a mental health issue or challenge. And so because you're struggling with that, you're frustrated with your spouse, you're having negative thoughts about your spouse, your kids, what have you, on your job. And so you show up in those places the way that you are what you're experiencing within yourself comes out outwardly. I guess I can say it that way. So it's very important that when we find ourselves in those situations, in those positions, and candidly, we all do at some point in our lives. We tend to think that it is, people who have to go on medication or they're in and out of the hospital, that it's only those people who are having mental health challenges. No, not at all. It is a part of the human experience, but it's not intended to, certain things certain issues may go on for a lifetime and you have to kind of manage them. But, the goal is mental health. And to walk in a level of healing. And I believe God does heal those things, and he uses a multitude of measures to do so. Rather that be professionals, medication, coping strategies, what have you. But I don't want to get into all that. What I'm trying to say is that if you are experiencing any of those things that we talked about, we want to encourage you today to seek a licensed professional to help you through those processes. Yes, we wholeheartedly believe in the Word of God, and we know that the Word of God works because we work the Word and the Word works for us. We believe in prayer. We believe in discipline and making the changes that we need to make, that we are aware of. But sometimes if you're struggling with a lot of these things, you're not even aware of the changes that you need to make. And so seeking, I say, a licensed professional, because these are people who are trained to recognize and these different issues to help you to work through them. So I wanted to put that up front so that I don't forget to say that. I know I believe in prayer and I believe in therapy, and I believe therapy. Jesus and therapy.
And I'll say this too. And I know what you mean when you said that, but I want people to get this up front. You don't have to wait until you feel a certain way.
No, not at all.
It's just like going to the gym. It's like you don't wait. And, when you have a heart attack, I ain't gonna say it's too late, but that's not the time to say, oh man, let me get in the gym.
Exactly.
Go to the hospital.
Right.
You're like at the extreme of it. So my thing is, like, I like having someone to talk to or seeing a life coach or a therapist or what have you on a regular basis.
An ongoing basis, absolutely.
Just to help me process through and think through some things, and just sometimes just get things off of my chest. And you would be amazed. We were talking with a couple the other day, and we were just talking through some things with them, and I could just see it, like, as the husband was sharing, it's like he was just like, whoo.
Right.
He was like, man, that was such a great session. And really, we didn't do anything. We didn't give any advice. We just, some of our friends in this work, Mark and Melissa Dunwah, they always say that, as a therapist or as a life coach, we're just story catchers.
Exactly.
And so sometimes you just need somebody to be able to catch your story and give you that undivided attention that you need just to talk through some things. And you'll find that when you do that, sometimes most of the time you'll be able to process and think things out. It's like, it's a way to just help you make sense of things or prioritize things or just process things. So my point in all that is, you don't wait until it's like I'm in clinically depressed.
Right.
And if you are, absolutely seek help. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to wait until it gets to that point. Right. It's just like I said, it should be a ongoing thing.
Right.
And it's so much so I know a lot of companies in their EAP, is it EAP programs, they have there's so many sessions that you could do a year with a therapist because
and the company will pay for it.
And the company will pay for it because they're understanding that if we're not right emotionally and mentally, it affects productivity.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's an ongoing thing, and wherever you are in life, you should have someone to hold space for you and someone that you can talk to. And I say on the professional side, licensed professional or life coach, person that can help you just kind of through your day-to-day, because you're absolutely right. We don't want to wait until there is an issue. But I want to say to those who are struggling with an issue and you didn't recognize it as an issue, that I hope that something that we say highlights that for you, and you seek the care and the support that you need. So I want to switch gears a little bit.
Switch them.
And talk about the benefits of...
I did a whoa.
You did a whoa? Wow.
I don't think I did it right, though. My girls always tell me
they'll be like,
Dad,
no. Don't ever, like Bethany told me, don't ever do that again in your life, is what she told me. So anyhow, switching gears, I want to look at the benefits of doing the work that we just talked about. Okay. So there is a study done in Sweden. And the study shows that mentally healthy married couples experience less physical illness. There's less, they have less surgeries, lower rate of heart attacks, and they're less likely to develop cancer.
Yeah.
Because they are in this union and they're both maintaining or taking care of their mental health, and they're being mentally aware of what's going on with them. Yeah. And taking care of that. Yeah. So go ahead.
I was going to say, that's amazing. And it's if Sweden did the study, it's got to be true. Because Sweden.
Right,
people,
Sweden.
They know they got a Swiss Army knife.
Swiss chocolate.
But anyway, one of the things that I learned, in the little bit of study that I've done and teachings that I've gotten on recall healing, but it tells us that whatever you can't process mentally and emotionally, you store it in your body. And so a lot of time, all sickness and disease can be traced back to mental and emotional sickness. Or I don't know if I said that right. So that makes a lot of sense, is what I'm saying.
Traumatic events and things of that nature.
So what we don't, and that's why it's so important that you process through that stuff, because what you don't, and shout out to God. Man, He made us so, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, like the Bible says. And a lot of times, you look at disease we look at disease as a bad thing. And I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but what sickness and disease a lot of times is what, it's our body's way of coping, so that way we can still process or function in life, and we don't just spaz out.
Right.
So instead of, you dealing with that hurt, then your body takes it and puts it into your body, and the body says, I'll hold this until you have time to process through it. So I guess, get into my recall healing bag there. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense that if you are mentally healthy, then those things don't show up in your body as much.
Right. That's good. That's really good. So some of the other benefits that we can see daily in our marriage when we are mentally healthy people is that those people have a sense of security. One of the things that we talk often with couples about is one of a woman's greatest need is for security. Many people take that and they're thinking financial security. Yes, that is a part of it, but the holistic part of it is also this: I am secure in this relationship. I trust my partner. I trust that you have my best interest at heart. I trust, that what we are that we're both on the same page in this relationship. So what they said was mentally healthy people provide each other with a sense of security. They don't have to wonder if the person they are coming home to will be up or down, or worry about leaving the children in their care. Yeah. So if you have, and I wanted to highlight that to say this, that if you are struggling in your mental emotional well-being, and one day, everything is fine and it's good, and there's productivity there, and the next day, there is no productivity, you're frustrated, you're angry, you don't feel as if you can get up and do, you have children, and maybe your spouse is wondering, is it okay for me to leave to go to work? Is he or she going to be able to manage the kids while I'm gone? And you're not addressing those issues, it is gonna further cause detriment in the marital relationship as well as with your kids. So it's important to seek the help that you need and make sure that your family is secure because you are well.
Mm-hmm. I look at it, it's like having to live in the constant state of always being on, because you don't know. It's like, like if you're out at work or whatever, and you're stressed at work, and you have not, I don't want to say stressed, but there's a heightened level of awareness that you have to have sometimes, depending on what job you do. And then for a lot of people coming home is that opportunity to just release and let go.
Right.
But if you don't have that, and on the drive, I'm just imagining someone on the drive home, because you don't know, like you said here, I don't know if they're going to be angry. I don't know if they're going to be mad. I don't know if they're going to be upset. Right. I don't know. So just that not knowing, that takes you out of that state of secure, having that insecure environment, having that place to where you can just be.
There you go. As your shirt says, and even if we're both working outside of the home, there aren't any kids, but you have a person who they show up in the world one way, and then they're a different person at home. Then you have the other spouse who's wondering, who am I going to face when they walk through the door today, or when I walk through the door? Yes,
like which person is going to be Jekyll,
who's going to
or Hyde? Which one?
Right. Yeah. Also secure in that my spouse is not keeping secrets from me, that there's not something going on, rather that be an outside relationship or hiding money or anything like that. You want to have that security in your relationship. A secure marriage is a truly healthy marriage. The next one is mutual support. With two mentally healthy people, there is a built-in support system. Each person is invested in helping the other person reach their goals. So if your spouse is seeking a promotion, higher education, and or seeking to start a business, how can you show them support? If you have a spouse who's stepping out to do these things, and you're just kind of like, we don't have time, we don't have the finances, should we be, these are questions you should ask maybe, but what's the heart? What's the way that you're presenting it, to this person? Or if you are non-supportive and saying, you don't need to start no business, you don't know what you're doing, that kind of thing. That can be detrimental to a person's self-esteem. They're feeling lack of support. They are feeling that you don't trust them, and all of these different things. We have to be able to mutually support one another in our endeavors and just in day-to-day things, Yeah,
and I think about, when it comes to mutual support, again, it goes back to in marriage, having a person that you can depend on is so crucial. And if I'm not emotionally and mentally stable, then it puts all the pressure on one person when it's you're not meant to handle all of that on your own.
Yeah.
And if you're not stable, I don't want to. I know for me, I could just imagine being in that situation. I wouldn't. Not only would I not feel comfortable, putting more on you, but I don't want to add to everything that you're going through. So that's why it's so important that we do take care of ourselves. I think about, and I know it's a cliche-ish thing and we use it all the time, but when you get on the plane, they always tell you during the safety briefing, right? If something happens and the mask come down, you got to put yours on first.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only way that I can now help you is if I got my oxygen is great.
Right. And
I think a lot of times what happens, and especially, to all my ladies out there, and I say this all the time, you guys have this not everyone, but a lot of times you have this idea that you have to take on everything and you have to be all to everybody, and you have to, and you don't ever make time for yourself.
Right.
And that goes back.
That superwoman complex.
Yeah. And that goes back to that putting your own mask on first. I like it. Stephen Covey, he refers to it as sharpening the saw. Yeah. And he talked about, this guy who he was cutting down a tree, and, he's like, he never stopped to sharpen his saw because it would take too much, that's time wasted where he could be cutting down the tree. But what he didn't realize was if he took an hour, stopped every 4 hours, and took an hour to sharpen the saw, what have you, the saw would cut faster and his productivity would go up. So I guess what I'm saying is to make sure that you're taking that time, whatever that is for you, whatever that needs to be for you, to make sure that you're putting your oxygen mask on first. Because if you can't do that, then there won't be mutual support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're always going to be in the state of, you're always going to be drained and run down, and that's not fair to yourself, and it's not fair to your spouse.
Yeah, that's good, babe. And I was just gonna say, when we're talking about mutual support, so if I'm working on a project or I'm working on a business pitch or something like that, you're gonna be the first person that I'm going to come to and say, hey, can you listen to this? Can you take a look at this? Can you read over this for me? And being able to be that person for your spouse and give them, your honest opinion and hey, maybe you want to tweak this a little bit. Being able to do that for your spouse is showing support. If your spouse is on a health journey, get in there with them. And, maybe you don't need to lose the weight that they need to lose. Or maybe, you have already been, on your own health journey. But when you come together as a couple, that empowers, you as a union even more to be successful. And you're going to have, more positive results. So I wanted to throw that out there. Also, witnessing life events together, going through the big things in life together, rather that is having kids, watching kids graduate, get married, new opportunities, a big life move, being able to be there as support for one another if you lose a parent. All of those different things, being able to experience those big events together, it helps with the mental health of each of us within the marriage, which benefits the marriage. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's good. And as we're going through this list, I just thought about, it's like, man, this is what mentally healthy people do.
Exactly.
And so I need to be doing these things, but I guess if I'm not doing these things, that should be an indicator for you. Well, maybe I do need to seek out some help and talk to somebody about this. So, but yeah, absolutely. Witnessing life together, and that helps to keep us both mentally healthy. So I guess what that looks like, I know, and just being transparent, I know like at an early part in our marriage, I didn't like doing. Mm-hmm. I didn't, you were like, you want to go to the park, with the girls, and I'd be like, I'll stay home. Mm-hmm. And for me, I guess maybe it was some mental instability. I don't know, but mm-hmm. I've always been like a homebody. But what I learned was when I do get outside of myself and do those things with you, and I feel better. Mm-hmm. And so, even with, going shopping with you, mm-hmm. I hate shopping, but it's not about the shopping. Right. It's about witnessing life's events. And I know that's not a huge event, mm-hmm. but I'm just saying going through life and
it's the time spent together.
Doing things together mm-hmm. helps me stay mentally mm-hmm. healthy. Mm-hmm. And because it's just, again, you bring it back to the gym or working out. It's like, I don't like doing these things sometimes, right. but I know if I do them, right. then my body will respond. So right. it's the same thing with our mental health. Mm-hmm. Even though you may not like doing that all the time, if once you get into the habit of doing them, mm-hmm. then your mind responds. Your mind becomes more aware. You get the oxytocin is released. Right. And mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said good. All that right. But,
So the other one I want to talk about is goal setting and accomplishing. Mentally sound couples have a higher chance of accomplishing a goal together as they are excellent at collaborating. They enjoy shared activities because they know that doing things together promotes a stronger relationship, which you kind of just alluded to. But I love that goal setting together, so and I'll just use like our recent thing, purchasing an elliptical. It was like a desire. We talked about it, wanted to do it. And you actually kicked off, you had this goal of, okay, I'm going to set this aside, money aside, to buy a piece of workout equipment, mm-hmm. and it was like, okay, because we have this goal that we want to be physically fit and healthy because we have a lot of things to do. Mm-hmm. We got a long life to live and a lot mm-hmm. to accomplish and a lot of people to help. So we want to be well physically. And so we know that we need something in the house. I mean, when we first got married, before we had kids, we actually had a workout room, mm-hmm.
In
our home. So it's kind of coming back full circle where we can now make that, a priority where it hasn't been for, some time. But I think setting that goal now, we have the workout equipment in the house. And so now it's like, okay, this is my personal goal. You have your personal goal. But because we're both on this journey together, we can, push one another, encourage one another, mm-hmm. and all of those different things. If there's a goal of buying a new home, of making a move, building a home, that's mm-hmm. the real goal. Mm-hmm. Making a big move or what have you, it just feels better when we're doing it together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that we're supporting one another. We're on the same mission.
Yeah.
Our eye is on the same goal and on the same target, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, eating together. So
I like this one.
This is for me, and we're not those people. I mean, it would be great to be those people where we sit down at the dining room table every single night with the whole family and we're sitting around and we're eating and we're having this wonderful conversation. I mean, realistically, we could force it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how enjoyable it would be if we forced it, but because we're busy and sometimes we have sessions with couples in the evenings, you have class, all of these different things are going on. It doesn't happen every single night, but we try to make it happen at least once or twice out of the week for dinner. And usually Saturday mornings, not every Saturday, again, living real life, we will sit down at the table together and have breakfast as a family. Usually you and I will try to eat together, even if the girls eat earlier, or they're not ready to eat and we eat earlier, who, depending on what's going on, we try to sit and have meals together. Mentally healthy couples love to come together at meal times because it provides an opportunity to share both food and conversation.
I think it also, we love to discover new eateries together.
Yes, and so, going out, yes.
So that right there, and nothing, we were just talking about this. I can't remember the place in Lafayette we found. It's just a little small, coffee shop, and they have little nice little treats and I think gelato.
Yeah, they have gelato. They make homemade gelato. They have coffee, wines, all kind of stuff.
Stuff like that, just doing that together. I think so. We probably need to speed this up.
Okay. What?
Nothing. Bailey.
So let me I'm going to move a little faster. So physical health, mindfulness, these couples seek to maintain and sustain good physical health, which we've kind of addressed. So I'll move on.
Well, and I know I said speed up, huh? Look here, but even, working out together, which there's this workout program and it's called is it Strength of Seduction?
I don't know what it's called.
But it's for couples to work out together. And I was watching some of the videos. I told you. I was like, yeah, we can't.
He wouldn't make it.
Oh, we could do that. You know what I'm saying? We working out together doing that. We wouldn't make it doing that kind of stuff. Look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. But anyway. But yeah, I think working out together, it helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps to work out together and keep the motivation. And it's another time to connectivity. Yeah. Encouragement and praise versus criticism and nagging. This for me is a big one. And I say that because I know us as women, especially, when things are not going our way, the first things, and I'm not saying every woman, but a lot of women that I have encountered, the first thing that they use as a weapon is their words to cut their husbands or their partners down, right? Because they may be hurting, they may, a lot of things contribute to that. But if that doesn't motivate your husband to give you what you need.
And then, so what's the point?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
And sometimes it's because it's what we've seen growing up. And so we practice that also. So if you have learned bad behavior, free yourself up and know that you can learn good behavior and you can change that behavior.
Yeah. And I always say, just make sure if every time you talk to your spouse, it's something negative. Or it's something you don't like or something. So just balance that out. And I was sharing this with a person the other day, especially with the nagging thing, because, most husbands, we just don't like.
Right, you shut down.
We don't like the nag. So I was telling her, I said, what's another way you could ask that question, to make it, don't make it sound so mothery. When you're saying that, what's another way you could phrase that? And even when the rephrasing, it changes the tone of it.
Yes.
When it forces you to think about how I'm about to say this and what I'm about to say. So
yeah. And I mean, because, we talked earlier on about one of a woman's greatest needs is support. Or security rather. And for a man, it's respect. And it's not saying, that you're the boss of me or, I have to do what you say. No, but it's offering genuine, I respect your role and your office in my life and in this home. And so we have conversation together, and the way that I communicate with you, even when I'm not happy with you, is not going to be disrespectful, and it's not going to be an opportunity for me to cut you, so to speak, with my words or my tone or my attitude and things like that. And I know we don't always get it right, but we do our best.
Yeah.
So moving on, respect and fairness. Both partners share the workload at home, and there are no gender roles. I feel like that's important too. You have things like you don't cook, and it's not that you don't cook because you don't want to cook. It's just like that's not a skill necessarily that you
don't want me to cook.
Have tapped into.
I tried to cook for her one time when we were dating, and it didn't come out.
We had some blackened pork chops, and some Zatarans.
Well, let's tell you how long ago that was.
I know.
We was eating pork.
I know, because I don't even fool with it this right now. And eating Zatarans out the box stuff. But I ate it. Anyway. But, you know, although you don't cook, you do laundry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you help to clean around the house. You know, there are moments I hate to take out the trash. That is not something that I enjoy doing, but I will take it out. You know, if, you know, you can't do it, you're busy, what have you, it's, you know, I will take it out. So we don't have necessarily that you do this because you're the woman and I do this because I'm the man kind of thing. We share the workload. Mm-hmm. And the last part of this that I typed up was you also should remember to express thanks and gratitude. So when your spouse, when your partner does something for you or for the relationship, for the family, there's nothing wrong with saying thank you. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you. Recognize it. You know, it's kind of like with kids. You want to give them positive affirmations. You want to do the same thing with one another. Yep. There's an understanding of each other's love languages, which we talk about often on this podcast. And as we're working with couples, mentally sound couples understand where the other person is coming from. They understand how each expresses love and receives love. And I think it's up to us, it's up to me to understand, to learn your love language.
Yeah, you can't, and I say this a lot, but I'll say it again. You can't love people the way you want to be loved. Right. You have to love people the way they need to be loved.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So
because
that looks different. Yeah, mm-hmm. And so you're right. You're absolutely right. You have to learn that. Mm-hmm. And even, you know, that's like one of the love language, and then another one that we're fond of is the Enneagram. Mm-hmm. And understanding your spouse's or your partner's personality and just how they do and why they do. You know, understanding, you know, it's sometimes we don't, that helps us not to take things so personal.
Right.
It's not that they don't like us or don't want to be with us. That's just their personality. Like, you know, like for me, like I said earlier, I like to be at home. I'm a homebody. I like, I say I'm an extroverted introvert. Right.
Yeah.
But you know that, so you give me space for that. But at the same time, I know that you like being around people and being in groups and all that. So I have to put on my extrovert hat to, you know, so I'm just saying, knowing each other's love language, knowing each other's personalities, and loving each other from that perspective.
Yes, I completely 1,000% agree. Mm-hmm. So our final benefit, is better sex even up into your golden years.
I really like this one. So look, if there's nothing else, you know what I'm saying, why you should be emotionally and mentally healthy.
Taking care of your mental and emotional health.
Yeah, it's because, you know, better sex. So fellas, look, you know, make you an appointment with the therapist, you know what I'm saying? You know, that should be the reason why. I'm just saying, but
that's his love language, okay? Happy mentally.
I'm not going to deny it.
Happy mentally stable couples have better sex. These couples use good communication skills, which helps them keep their intimate lives active and evolving. And they do not use, this is a big one, they do not use sex as a weapon, withholding it to punish or hurt their partner. They talk things out so issues don't carry over into the bedroom. Mm-hmm. I think that's true. And we often talk about, you know, being open and honest about everything all the time. We talk about vulnerability, which leads to better intimacy, which leads to better sex within the marriage. And so to hear even up until the golden years is super exciting. That the more you do this, you know, the better your intimacy on all levels will be.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think that you know, this is really to encourage people to take care of their mental health, being more aware. You know, when something's kind of off with you, being aware of that and being willing and open to seek the support that you need. As Glenn said, also making sure that, I mean, you just have someone, whether it be a therapist, life coach, or what have you, have someone on standby or that you talk to, on a regular basis, once a month. Once a month, every 2 weeks, once a week, what have you, whatever your need is in that season, that you have someone that you're communicating with, that you're talking to about what's happening with you day to day, good and bad. Sometimes we just need to process. So do that for yourself. And I know sometimes this may sound like, this is a lot, Glenn and Tanya. Well, it is. And it's because your marriage really does matter. And that the more that we do our work and that we are healthy, the better this relationship is going to be, the better our families are going to be as we are parenting our children, the better we're going to show up in our communities, on our jobs, or what have you. It is so needed. Marriage does not have to be hard, but it is work.
Yep. So, and for me, it's like, we're not saying that if you have a bad day, oh my God, you
Sure.
know. So it's learning to recognize those patterns. So if you are just in that mopey mood for an extended period of time, well, then maybe something's going on. Another thing that I've learned, I'll say this and I'll let you wrap it up. But when you do have those moments where it's just kind of like, blah, because they happen. One of the things that I've learned, Michelle, what's Michelle's last name? LeBlanc?
Yes.
Michelle LeBlanc, one of the program that we are involved in, Growth Challenge, she says, if you feel that way, then give yourself a limit. Like, okay, I feel like this. I'm going to feel like this for an hour.
Right.
I'm going to let myself just be, I'm going to be in this funk for 1 hour. And I'm going to set a timer. And after when that timer goes off, okay,
shake it off.
I'm coming out of this, right?
Shake it off.
Because, and if you get to the point to where you can't do that and you're not being able to pull yourself out of that, and you're doing all the things, you're praying, you're reading the word and you're doing all those things, but you still find yourself just going around in this circle, then maybe you need some help. Maybe you need someone else to walk with you through that process. So,
So that's all we have for you this week here on Marriage Matters. I am Tanya Coleman. This is
Glenn Coleman.
And we are reminding you that your marriage matters.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.